Hi, I'm Ethan, 31, and 3 months ago I made the dumbest, most expensive mistake of my life. I gifted my parents a luxury week-long island retreat, and somehow ended up realizing their silence hurt more than my sister banning me from her wedding. The whole thing started because I was trying too hard. Classic oldest son syndrome. I'd spent years trying to fix a family dynamic that honestly should have been put down like an injured raccoon. My parents had always treated my sister, Mariah, like a decorative houseplant, pretty, fragile, and requiring endless attention, while I was the "you'll be fine, you're independent" kid, which is parent code for, we forgot we had another child. Still, when I landed a promotion and a year-end bonus big enough to make my student loan trauma feel almost worth it, I figured, why not do something nice? Something big? Something that might, I don't know, make them finally see me. So I booked it. 7 days on a private island resort with glass floor villas, personal chefs, plunge pools, the whole works. The kind of place influencers pretend they can afford. It cost more than my car, but hey, my parents had spent years talking about wanting one last great trip, before retirement, that I surprised them with the trip at dinner that my dad's eyes actually watered. My mom hugged me like I was the prodigal son she'd never expected to return. For one brief, shining, stupid moment I thought, wow, maybe this will be the start of us being a real family. Then they said the sentence that should have tipped me off something was wrong. "This is perfect timing," my mom said. "You're such a good brother." Good brother for what, exactly? That's when my phone buzzed. A notification popped up in the family group chat. A picture of an invitation. My sister's wedding invitation. Apparently, she'd been engaged for 6 months, and the wedding was in 9 weeks, and she hadn't invited me. At dinner, she texted me separately, "Please don't make a big deal out of this. The wedding is going to be really intimate." I just stared at the screen thinking, intimate? You invited 70 people. I literally saw the list. But here's where the universe twisted the knife. My parents didn't say anything about the wedding, not during the trip planning, not at dinner. Not when I asked, casually, "Sue, anything new happening this year?" Nothing. They didn't defend me. They didn't mention it. They didn't even acknowledge that I was excluded from their daughter's wedding, and somehow that silence, their refusal to choose me even once, hurt more than the actual invitation I didn't get. I didn't lash out. I didn't confront them. I just smiled, told them to enjoy the island trip, and went home feeling like someone had scooped out my insides with a melon baller. Little did I know that both the island retreat and the wedding were about to explode in spectacular fashion. And I would end up at the center of a drama so stupid I still can't believe anyone involved had a high school diploma. I thought giving my parents that island trip would buy me at least a week of emotional peace. Wrong. They landed at the resort and immediately transformed into the kind of people who write passive-aggressive Yelp reviews about the energy of the towels. Every day I got a new text. Day 1. The villa is smaller than it looked online. It wasn't. I saw the photos. It had 2 floors and an infinity pool. Day 2. Your father thinks the lobster tastes frozen. It was caught that morning. Day 3. Do you know how much sunscreen costs here? Ridiculous. True, but why was that my problem? Meanwhile, every time my parents contacted me, one thing stayed suspiciously absent from all conversation. My sister's wedding. No updates, no mention of dress shopping, no wish you could be here. Nothing. I wasn't invited. They weren't going to bring it up. That was that. Except it wasn't. On the 4th day of their trip, my mom sent a text that finally cracked the whole situation open. "Your sister is very stressed. We think it's best you two don't talk right now." I stared at the message. Stressed, because of me? I hadn't spoken to her in almost a year. So I texted my sister directly, "Why am I not invited to your wedding?" Delivered. Read. No response. 20 minutes later, my dad called, something he only does when there's a medical emergency or he needs tech support for the TV. "Ethan," he said in that disappointed father voice, "your sister doesn't want drama. I'm not drama. I just want to know what I did. Silence, then more silence, then my dad sighed so hard I could almost hear his hairline recede. It's just, her fiancé thinks you're judgmental. Judgmental? I had met her fiancé twice. And both times he'd bragged about how his startup was, basically the next Uber. The man once ordered a $24 cocktail, for the aesthetic, and didn't drink it. If anything, I'd been too polite. But fine. Judgmental. Sure. I asked. And you too? You really weren't going to say anything about me being uninvited? My dad hesitated. Your mother and I don't want to choose sides. Oh, there it was, the truth. They weren't choosing sides, which meant they weren't choosing me. I got off the phone before my voice cracked, because if there's one thing my parents hate more than confrontation, it's emotions that last longer than 10 seconds. 2 days later, the resort called me. Yes, Mr. Carson? Your parents told us to charge all excursions, wine pairings, spa sessions, and private boat rentals to your card. I had somehow become the financial sponsor of their emotional vacation getaway while simultaneously being erased from the family tree. I told the resort absolutely not, please lock down all charges to what I'd prepaid. Then the manager said, your mother is very upset. Yeah, tell me something I don't know. Their trip ended, they flew home, they posted excessively filtered photos as if they hadn't complained the entire time, but something was building in the background. Something I didn't know yet. Something my sister's wedding planner would accidentally tell me 3 days later. A leak. A meltdown. A lie so ridiculous I still don't know how they thought they'd get away with it. The turning point hit me on a random Thursday afternoon while I was half asleep on a Zoom call. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the text preview. Hi, this is Lillian, your sister's wedding planner. We need to discuss the family seating chart. Family seating chart. For the wedding I was apparently not part of. Bold. I answered. Hi, Ethan. Quick question, she chirped, sounding like someone who handwrites thank you notes for fun. Your parents mentioned you wouldn't be attending because of the incident. I just wanted to confirm. I sat up straight. What incident? Silence on the line, the kind where you can hear someone blinking. Oh, she said, voice deflating. They didn't tell you. Tell me what? Your sister said you refused to come unless she paid you back for the island trip. I nearly swallowed my own tongue. What? Yes, she continued carefully. Your parents told us there was a financial dispute. That you demanded reimbursement and threatened to ruin the wedding atmosphere. My mouth hung open like an abandoned mailbox. Not only had I paid for the island trip, I hadn't asked for a dime back. The wedding planner kept talking, unaware she was dropping nuclear bombs. And your parents said you didn't approve of the groom and didn't want to watch your sister make a mistake, so you would respectfully step back to avoid conflict during their big day. I felt heat rising behind my eyes. They lied. They created a fake story about me withdrawing from the wedding, and then used that story to justify excluding me. I exhaled slowly before saying, Lillian, none of that is true. She went quiet. Very quiet. Oh, she whispered. Oh no. Yep. Oh no indeed. 5 minutes after I hung up, my sister finally texted me. A single message. You weren't supposed to find out. My vision tunneled. I called her. No answer. Called again. Ignored. Then my dad texted. Let's keep the peace. Don't escalate this. Escalate? They had rewritten reality, painted me as greedy and vindictive, and erased me from their lives while spending my money. So I did the mature thing. I showed up at my parents' house that evening. My father opened the door wearing the expression of a man who has just realized consequences exist. My mom stood behind him, arms folded like she was auditioning for the role of disapproving woman number 3 in a Lifetime drama. My sister was there too, puffy-eyed, mascara smudged like she'd been crying, which was rich, considering I was the one who got uninvited from life. What exactly, I began, did you tell your wedding planner about me? Silence. Then my mom said, we had to say something, Ethan. Otherwise people would ask why you weren't invited. You could have invited me, I snapped. My sister shot up from the couch. I didn't want drama on my wedding day. What drama? I asked. I literally haven't spoken to you in a year. She folded her arms. Exactly. You've been distant. You're always busy with work. I didn't think you cared. I felt something inside me crack, not loudly, but sharply, like the first fracture in a dam. You didn't invite me, I said slowly, because you assumed I didn't care? My parents exchanged one of their patented, Ethan is being unreasonable again looks. We didn't want you to feel obligated, my mom said. Obligated. Inviting your only son to your only daughter's wedding was apparently too much pressure to place on me. And then, in a moment that should earn them some kind of Olympic medal in mental gymnastics, my dad gestured at me and said, "You tend to make things about you, son." I laughed, out loud, for a long time, because here's the twist. Their silence, their lies, their rewriting of events. None of it compared to what was happening behind the scenes at the wedding, because it turns out my sister's fiancé, he wasn't who he claimed to be, and the wedding was about to implode so violently it would make my family's drama look like a warm-up act. The implosion began with a vibrating phone on my parents' coffee table that my sister's fiancé, Trevor, the human equivalent of a Patagonia vest, was calling my dad. My father answered like everything was normal. Then his face changed. Not confusion, not irritation, pure bone-deep alarm. He lowered the phone slowly. Your sister needs to go home, he said. Now. Mariah shot up. What? Why? What happened? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. She grabbed her purse and ran outside. My parents followed. I stood there for a solid 10 seconds, confused, before I muttered, "Screw it," and followed 2. We drove separately, and by the time I reached my sister's place, chaos was already brewing. Her fiancé's car was parked crooked across the driveway like someone had abandoned it mid-crisis. The front door was wide open. Voices were yelling inside, 2 I recognized, 1 I definitely didn't. I stepped inside just in time to see a stranger pacing the living room, waving a stack of papers like they were holy scriptures. My sister was crying, Trevor was sweating. My parents were trying to play referee between 2 grown adults screaming like banshees, and the mystery man? He turned, saw me, and jabbed a finger at Trevor. You didn't tell them, did you? My sister wiped her eyes. Tell us what? Trevor rubbed his face. It's not a big deal. The stranger barked a humorless laugh. Not a big deal? You defrauded an entire wedding venue, genius. I blinked. Wedding. Venue. Fraud. Oh, this was going to be good. Someone, the stranger continued, booked your wedding using my company's corporate credit line. And guess who's responsible for that credit line? We all stared blankly. Me, he said. I'm his boss. And he stole my card. Mariah gasped like someone had punched her lungs flat. My parents looked at each other, their expressions saying we absolutely did not raise this boy, but also yes, actually, they kind of did. Trevor lifted his hands. It wasn't stealing. It was borrowing. Borrowing, his boss snapped. You charged a $32,000 venue deposit. That's not borrowing. That's felony-level stupidity. I choked on my own spit. $32,000. For a garden wedding, Trevor kept babbling. I was going to pay it back. Eventually. After the honeymoon. Or after the next round of funding. It's all temporary. His boss turned to us, face red. Temporary? Your future son-in-law is being fired. And I'll be pressing charges. Mariah let out a noise that sounded like a dying balloon. No, please, this can't be happening, she said. The wedding is in 3 weeks. It's not happening, her boss said flatly. The venue canceled everything. We locked the booking as soon as we discovered the fraud. My mother staggered into the recliner like she'd been shot. My father sat down slowly, rubbed his forehead and whispered, "Good God." I leaned against the wall, watching it unfold, feeling something ridiculous rise inside me. Vindication that I didn't want this to happen for her, that I didn't root for this. But after a lifetime of being treated like the expendable child? Watching the Golden Girl's wedding crumble because her fiancé was apparently running his life like a Ponzi scheme. There was a dark, petty part of me that said, well, if it isn't consequences. The boss stormed out with a final warning, expect a summons. Trevor collapsed onto the couch, face pale. Mariah sobbed into her hands. I can't believe this. I can't believe you'd ruin everything. Trevor pointed weakly at me. This is why I didn't invite him, he blurted. He judges everything. Everything. I blinked at my guy. Your wedding just got Thanos snapped because you committed credit card fraud, and your biggest concern is me giving off judgment vibes. But before I could respond, my mom finally snapped out of her daze and said something I'll never forget. This, she hissed, is why we didn't want Ethan involved. My jaw dropped. Me, I was the problem? The moment you bring tension, she continued, the whole family falls apart. Right. Because I hacked into this man's wallet and bought a wedding with stolen money. My sister sobbed harder. I wish you hadn't come, Ethan. And that, somehow, hurt more than everything else combined. I left. Quietly. Calmly. Walked right out the door while the rest of them scrambled to salvage their social image apocalypse. I thought that would be the end of it, but no, because the next morning, someone sent me a text that flipped everything on its head. Not my sister, not my parents, Trevor, and what he confessed in that message, it changed the entire trajectory of what happened next. Trevor texted me at 6:12 a.m., which is the universal hour for emergencies, confessions, and absolute stupidity. His message was long, unhinged, panicked, and somehow both apologetic and blaming me at the same time. It began with, I didn't know who else to tell. They're all freaking out. Not my circus, not my primates, but sure, let's see where this train wreck goes. Then, I didn't mean to blame you yesterday. I was scared. Scared of what, exactly? Losing his job? His wedding? His freedom? Or, my personal theory, scared the truth would come out, because the next line, that was the bomb. The credit card thing isn't the only problem. And your sister doesn't know. Fantastic. Just fantastic. Then he asked if we could meet in person so he could explain everything. I agreed, mostly because if I didn't hear this straight from him, it would haunt me for the rest of my natural life. We met at a diner near my apartment. Neutral ground, public setting, minimal chance of being stabbed with a cake knife. Trevor looked like he hadn't slept. His hair was a mess. His shirt was buttoned wrong, and he kept tapping the table like his anxiety was trying to escape through his fingertips. He started with a deep breath, as if he was about to tell me he'd cheated on my sister or was secretly in witness protection. Instead he said, there is no startup. I blinked. What? He stared at his coffee. The startup. The one I told everyone I co-founded. The one I said was going through funding rounds. It doesn't exist. So what have you been doing for the past 2 years? He swallowed. I've been unemployed. I stared at him, processing all 1,000 layers of pathetic. You've just been lying? Yes. Daily? Yes. To everyone? Yes. And the wedding money? He sighed. I was hoping something would work out. I kept thinking I could fix it before anyone found out. Fix it with what? Manifestation? Vision boards? Frauding your boss harder? Then he said the part that made my jaw clench. Your parents kind of pushed me into keeping up appearances. They said your sister deserved someone successful. Someone who could match your income. Match my income, match me. Suddenly, things clicked. The weird comments, the way my parents bragged about Trevor whenever I visited, the fact they never once questioned his so-called company. My parents clung to the idea that Mariah had found a perfect partner. Trevor admitted they told him to hide everything until after the wedding because the family would handle it. Handle it? They can't even handle Bluetooth. I asked the obvious. So you kept me out because you knew I'd expose you? He winced. You're observant. Right. Also known as I can tell when a man has never held a real job. Then came the favor. I'll tell Mariah everything. Just convince your parents not to press charges. I stared. You stole from your boss. They said they approved the payment. They told him you caused the issue. My parents covered for you, and blamed me? He nodded. Can you talk to them? They'll listen to you. I laughed. They wouldn't believe me if I told them the sun rises. Still, he said, you're the sensible one. Funny, only true when their lives are on fire. Why tell me? I asked. Because if she knows, she'll leave me. She should. But that wasn't my call. I stood. Fix your own mess. Tell her today, or I will. I left. 3 hours later, Mariah called, shaking. Trevor had confessed everything. 2 years of gambling, the wedding fund gone, and worst, he'd used her credit. $72,000 in debt. And Mom and Dad? I asked. They told me not to leave him. It would embarrass them. Of course. Then she whispered, he's been messaging other women. I told her, you're allowed to choose yourself. She asked me to come over. Instead of packing, I found my parents and Trevor waiting, him holding repayment plans, full of gambling scribbles and nonsense. Do you want him here? I asked Mariah. A tiny shake. No. Mom interrupted, she's emotional. Dad added, canceling the wedding ruins our reputation. There it was. You're protecting yourselves, I said. Trevor begged. Mariah said, I'm done. Mom grabbed her wrist. I stepped in. Let her go. This time Dad backed down. Mariah walked out with me. The next morning brought frantic calls. By 10 a.m., my parents were at my door. We need to talk to your sister. No. She doesn't know what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's leaving a man who stole her identity. Dad tried. You're encouraging rebellion. She's trying to survive. Then Mom cracked. People will talk about us. And that summed up everything. Let them talk, I said. For once, they left in silence. The wedding collapsed. Trevor was fired and charged. Creditors swarmed. Relatives picked pointless sides. And for us? It didn't feel like losing a family. It felt like finally escaping one.